Welcome to the Sri Lankan Understanding, a platform on which we explore the past of Sri Lanka, an island in the Indian Ocean. We look at where the country is at present, and we talk about the future and the potential of this country. The topic of discussion today is the blue economy and the potential for this country. To discuss this topic, we have someone who is an expert in the field, having earned his first degree from the University of Ruhuna and his PhD from the University of Kalmar in Sweden. He is a visiting lecturer at over 4 universities in Sri Lanka and the Nathan University in Vietnam, and was the former head of oceanography and marine geology at the University of Ruhuna. He is an avid underwater diver, he is an underwater photographer, he is also someone who has served on the United Nations Environmental Programme Advisory Group, specializing in the field of marine litter and microplastics. He has published internationally and locally, and we are indeed honored to have with us today Professor Terney Pradeep Kumara. Thank you so much, Professor, for taking time to join us on the Sri Lankan Understanding. So, in keeping with the blue economy, usually when we talk about the blue economy, we feel that this is something to do with strategizing within a country. Could you briefly highlight some of the key aspects of the blue economy?
Yes, thank you, George, and I must thank you for first inviting me for this program. Yes, it's a pleasure. Yes, blue economy is if I say very simply, is the economy that based on the ocean, because even now as a country we mainly focused on land-based economy. But we have already forgot about the huge resource that lied around the country. That's our ocean. So in blue economy, what we always capitalize on is the resources lying there. For example, to take if we take it from fisheries and tourism, but if you go beyond that, shipping sector, taking oil and gas from, and again marine minerals, and again aquaculture from the ocean, and again fresh water from the ocean, and the energy from the ocean. So everything encompasses in that blue economic concept. Therefore, as a country that's based on a very strategic location, we are serving, to the one of the busiest shipping lane. We are very much ready to serve that the aspect of exploring blue economy. But at the moment, as a country, we are mainly focusing on fisheries and tourism, but for some extent shipping. But still, we have not thought about taking the full potential of blue economy. But as a country, we have a huge potential to take the benefit of this new concept of blue economy, taking all benefits from the ocean. If you again look at the land side, for example, now our forests are shrinking, and our houses are expanding in horizontal way. Our lands has become a very confined, restricted factor. And on the other hand, the water has again, since we have we have about 1.5 rivers, brings huge amount of water, but still water is becoming so scarce in the future. So therefore, now the country should look into the future. In that case, the main place you have to look into is our ocean. We have already forgotten from our school time. We have forgotten. So that's why, as a country, as a countryman, we never think of ocean. But now this is the time to look into the ocean and take the maximum use of the ocean while keeping the benefits for our future generations. So that concept really tell within the blue economic concept. So other countries, like for example some countries like Vietnam, New Zealand, Norway, they are very much ahead of us. But still we just have, as a country, we have just started the discussion. But still, at least now we are doing something. We are now discussing it and try to take this blue economic concept to the top level, at least to convince our policy makers and decision makers to capitalize on it and take the maximum benefit for the betterment of the country.
Absolutely. When we talk about the oceans around the island, they've obviously served as a buffer zone to a large extent for the country, but we've also had a lot of problems. The tsunami came along. We've had lots of other forms of pollution, etc. taking place. How effectively have we used the ocean from the past to now? There's potential for the future, but in the past, how effectively have we used it?
Yeah, the ocean is a dividing factor. Ocean divides us from other countries, but ocean connects us, through telecommunication means, through naval shipping, and through the ocean transportation. Ocean connects us. We have already forgotten that. At the same time, our communication with the ocean is bit stale from my understanding, because from our past. In our past, we have some issues with our kings, or earlier kings. They traveled to other countries and helped, and there were some wars. But after that, then we come to Silk Route era. So if you go around the country, we have lots of shipwrecks Those are really, there's evidence of, how, active we were during the Silk Route era. And at the time also we served a lot to the East Asian, East African, East European region by providing lots of resources from here. At the same time, slave trade also happened to us. So that sort of communication we had, but not like other countries. We never thought to become capitalized on ocean resources. We have already focused on everything. What we did was we served the shipping routes and shipping lanes and those services. At the same time, we try to gain some information or some support from through fisheries means, and again for some extent tourism means. That's all we have already focused. But now we are with the current setup. Now we are mainly thinking about developing new harbors and having oil and gas exploration. Yes, but still those are happening in slow phase. Therefore, our communication with the ocean is still not to the potential, at least not half, from my understanding. Therefore, the huge potential is there. As a country, we have a oceanic future, oceanic economy. So understanding that and capitalize on it and investing on that is a must for the country. If you do it in a proper way, with well planned way, I think Sri Lanka can become developed country or be flourished with all the things we need in shorter time.
When you've also been serving as the General Manager of the Marine Environment Protection Authority, what are some of the main challenges that we are facing in terms of realizing this potential? Is it because of the harm to the environment, or are there other factors that are coming into play here?
Yeah, if you think about ocean environment, what we have to do is, if you really want to capitalize on blue economy, you have to plan well. Everything should be done in a well planned system. Then you have to invest on that. So to harness the full potential, you have to at least work for at least 10 years, good 10 years with good investment. What happened in the land was, what happened was we started development without any proper planning. That is why we devastated everything on the land. So all the issues are there. Bad city and town planning, lots of issues with sanitation, water issues, all are there. But in the ocean, the advantage there is still is unexploited and still huge areas still open. Then the next concept coming as a marine spatial planning. So we talk about town and city planning, but we never talk about marine spatial planning. So in the marine spatial planning, we plan everything, where to use and for which purpose. So everything is planned. But other countries, as I mentioned, they have a marine spatial plans prepared for next 50 years. But we don't have. We are still discussing about marine spatial planning. Some people don't even know about marine spatial planning. So if you have a very good marine spatial planning, and we have a vision, and we have a good investment, and then we can definitely work on that. That's the main advantage we are having compared to land based. So before the development come, we should have plans on our hand. Then on that plan, we can implement the development. Then we can take the maximum from the resources at the same time, while not totally preserving but managing it, leaving huge amount of the same resource for future generations.
Absolutely, that's a very vital point there, because sometimes we don't realize that when we talk about this particular aspect of planning or strategizing, we might have messed things up on land. Let's not mess it up in the sea as well, because that's something that we are still yet to get into. We're still new in that field. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about the case studies from around the region, looking at particular countries and how they have been able to make a success out of their blue economy, when we return with the Sri Lankan Understanding. Welcome back to the Sri Lankan Understanding. We're in conversation with Professor Terney Pradeep Kumara, and we're focusing on the blue economy and the potential for Sri Lanka. Before we went to the break, Professor, we talked about some of the past experiences and how we do have the potential. We've identified that. That's a given. When we look at countries like Bangladesh, they've already started operationalizing the blue economy, and they have a limited coastline, but they've already started looking at it. How have they started doing that? What are the lessons we can probably learn from that experience?
Yeah. If you think about South Asian countries like Bangladesh and maybe India, because we, as Sri Lankans, we always think that those countries are very slow. We always believe that we are very fast and we are always on the track. But now they are slow and steady and they are moving fast. Sri Lanka has stopped at some point and we are still in there. So that's the main issue. Regarding blue economy in Bangladesh, yeah, they are mainly focusing on aquaculture and fisheries for some extent. But on the other hand, they are now having another sector for shipping, especially shipbuilding. And again, ship dismantling is again happening. That's not detrimental to the environment, but that industry is also there. So Bangladesh now, they are that country. I have understood that country is always looking for opportunities. What compared to Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, we have opportunities. We are not taking those opportunities in time or on time. We are always late. So Bangladesh has discussed about blue economy maybe 10 years ago, and now they are slowly moving with this concept and implementing it. But when compared to Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, we don't have any plan to proper plan to invest or take advantages from blue economy. So that's why now Bangladesh is now try to expand their fisheries fleet into more into Indian Ocean region. For the moment, about 15% of the animal protein is from the marine fishing sector. But now they are going to expand that. They are going to expand their fishing fleet, and at the same time they are going to expand their aquaculture into more mangrove areas. While sustaining mangroves, they are trying to extract more aquaculture, like for example crab culture, shrimp culture, not destroying the environment. At the same time, now they are going to explore more ocean-based resources like minerals. So they have that vision. So that's why they are moving fast in that track. So I think within a couple of years' time, they will definitely reap those the benefit of that. That's for sure. If they do it, Bangladesh will from economically, they will move up very fast. They will soon pass Sri Lanka's from all the aspects. So that's why I always tell that we have to learn from at least from our neighboring countries. So that's why we had to start implementing or planning on our resources, and again have some projects to really take opportunities from that. For example, if I think about shipping sector, so we sent our poor labor to Middle East, right? But if we can train our youth from rural areas and give some basic training from government side for a small cost, or if not free, they will earn from dollars. They will earn from $1,000, $2,500, $4,000. So those are the areas, because for us we have to earn from dollars or from foreign countries, not from rupees. So therefore, that the opportunities they are, George, right? So that our leaders, our decision makers, they should understand that they should at least now do something, not talk. So if we can walk the talk, that definitely Sri Lanka is on the track. We have all benefits and we are ready, but to take that readiness into the action is what we are missing when compared to Bangladesh.
That's where we look at concepts such as marine parks, which some countries have set up. They're looking at the tourism side of it, where they actually go into specialized areas. And there's, as you mentioned, we've got to now start walking the talk. We've done a lot of, I don't know how much we have done. Maybe we have not talked about this enough. Maybe we haven't focused on this enough. But isn't one of the biggest challenges we're going to face be marine pollution? How are we going to deal with that side of it? Because there's always the flip side of the coin. There's a lot we can gain from it, and I want to come to that later on too. But in terms of marine pollution in general, if we focus on that, we've had so many disasters now, so many incidents in our waters. Are we ready to deal with all of these disasters that are taking place?
Yeah, marine pollution we can divide into coastal and marine pollution, ocean pollution. So ocean pollution is, when compared to coastal pollution is, I mean negligible. On the other hand, the shipping sector is moving more into green now, right? But on the other hand, from household level, we are polluting our coast. Whatever we emit or whatever we throw from our kitchen, ultimately everything end up in our coastal waters. So that's why we ranked number 5 in 2015. We have some issues with statistics, but they ranked us in 5th worst coastal polluters in the world, Sri Lanka. That's not good news for us. But to control marine pollution, the country is ready if all our public is supporting. For example, reducing our per day waste generation. In Sri Lanka, our waste generation per day is 500 grams of waste, right? Not degradable, non-degradable waste. So huge amount of waste. So most of them end up in our coastal waters and on our shores. So that really gives us a really bad picture through tourism and fisheries sector, right? So that's the area we are very much struggle to deal for the moment. On the other hand, local governments, they don't collect beach waste. So there's it's a baby of nobody. So that's why MIPA has put a step down and came to that picture and started collecting those waste. But on the other hand, if I go back again for the marine tourism side, I mentioned that we have lots of shipwrecks, and we have new shipwrecks just off Colombo. But other countries, like for Kenya, so what they do is they don't have shipwrecks because they are not cross this the Silk Route. What they do is the hotels get together and buy some ships, and they sink them purposely and convert them into diving sites and no fishing zones and marine parks. We have a number of those shipwrecks, and we have a new wrecks also just off Colombo. Now we are planning to take this out for scrap iron. What a disaster. So this is how we think about blue economy, this is how we think about marine tourism, this is how we plan our things about the marine parks as you mentioned. So this is how we deal with our coastal pollution. So you go to Vellavatta beach and you go to Crow Island beach, so you see it clean because we are cleaning it. If you stop cleaning it, those beaches per day, you will see huge stack of garbage on the beach. So with that, I think we can't move forward. Definitely we have to stop that, and we have to made up our mind. We have to put whole the country into a new track with a better vision.
Absolutely. I want to come back to that point that you raised about in terms of Sri Lanka being a key polluter when we come back in the next portion. We're talking about the blue economy and the potential for Sri Lanka. We're in conversation with Professor Terney Pradeep Kumara on the Sri Lankan Understanding. Welcome back to the Sri Lankan Understanding. We're in conversation with Professor Terney Pradeep Kumara, and we're talking about the blue economy and the potential for Sri Lanka. Before we went to the break, Professor, we talked about a certain statistic. We looked at Sri Lanka being the 5th largest polluter in terms of marine environment. But isn't this also pollution coming from other parts of the world or other parts of our region? Isn't it also their dirt that is in our waters, or their pollutants that are coming into our waters?
Yeah, if we take about coastal pollution, about 80 to 90% comes from from inland areas through rivers and canals. But still 10 to 15% of these pollutants coming from other countries. We call them as transboundary waste movements. So if you go to East Coast, you will find waste from Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia, and China. Because when we collect waste, what we do is we do waste auditing. So we check all the labels and everything, then we can find from where they are coming. If you go through the west coast, for example, go to Adams Beach or Mannar region, so all the waste are from Tamil Nadu, right? You might remember, George, maybe a few years ago we received huge amount of clinical waste in off Nigambu area, right? Those are from Kerala, and we are receiving waste from other countries for sure. But at the same time, I was looking around and I was thinking other countries should receive waste from us also. And I got the news few weeks ago from our neighboring country, Maldives. They said that they are receiving waste from Sri Lanka. So those are called transboundary waste. So there's no proper solution for that. We can't stop waste coming from other countries. Yes, we are receiving waste from other countries, but still that is very fraction. It is about 10-15%. But huge 85% is from from inland areas. But in addition to that, the most polluted places are our fishing harbors, right? If you go to fishing harbor, you can find in the harbor basin, you can find a huge amount of waste, plastics or polythene or whatever kind of various kinds of foam on the harbor basin. So if you start digging it out, you can see at least 1 meter sitting on harbor basins, huge amount of waste. If you go to areas like Nilvalla Harbor, right? On the beach, the stack is about 1 meter, but if you dug into the sand, again buried in the sand is another half a meter waste plastic. So that's the situation. Situation is really bad. Even though we are not happy with the statistics published, we are polluting. We have to understand that, and we use that ranking to convince our top leaders. For example, in our mindset, if he said, "Oh, Sri Lanka is number 50, 60," we take some more time, to take actions. So we took it as an advantage, while we are correcting it in lots of international fora, and we are now working on how to reduce that. But still, government has some plans. There are issues with those plans. Those are scattered and those are not linked properly. On the other hand, general public also has a huge stake to support this. Right? Without their support, we can't do.
Absolutely.
So that's what I request all this through this program to all general public to help the country, help us, help each other to reduce this problem and make a beautiful beach, a country with beautiful beaches.
As you mentioned at the beginning, we've messed things up on land. People litter all the time. Some things that we have seen, footage we've seen in recent weeks. People even go to get their vaccines. There's a particular dustbin to put your piece of cotton wool, but no, you must drop it on the ground. That seems to be the predominant attitude amongst people. It's very hard to change this. And this is where we really need to instill a lot of mind change that has to take place. When we look at that bigger picture, we've messed things up on land. Do you think that us getting into the blue economy, we're going to mess things up in the waters that much more?
Yeah, good question, George. Anyway, that's what I mentioned you, that we have to have a proper plan in place, proper plan based on proper policies, proper strategies, right? Then we implement that. Definitely, we can take the maximum use of blue economy. But still, if you open that as an open access policy, same will happen to our ocean. Then we will lose already we have lost land resources, we have already messed it up. Then if we keep the same theory for the ocean, the same will happen to the ocean. That's why I mentioned that based on proper policies, proper strategies, proper plans, if you do that, or the development comes on a well planned system, then we can definitely take the full benefit of blue economy. So that is what we have to understand that. So that's why I always against haphazard development in the coastal areas, haphazard projects around our waters. So that's what I always believe in marine spatial planning, right? What we are going to do with eastern coast, what we are going to southern coast, in western coast, because in western coast we can't do mariculture, we can't culture fish. Eastern coast we can't introduce big project because the environment is very much pristine, right? We have nice sand dunes, nice coral reefs are there. So if we can understand that, to have a better plan and better vision, and then we invite the developers to come and invest on that, we are in a better place, right? Otherwise, if we invite all the developers to come in open access theory situation, again we will do the same mistake, and that will be the end of our country, because for my understanding, ocean is our main savior for the moment. We have to keep that in mind and work accordingly.
Such a very valid point, where we've got to start with the national plan, and then other projects have got to fit into that, because very often we have investors, use the term developers, coming in who are obviously coming in to see what they are going to gain. What are we gaining in the process? This is where we have this gap. You've been in this field now for a long time, Professor. You're a researcher, you've published internationally and locally, you've also in the academic field and also a practitioner through MIPA. Where do you see us in the decade ahead, in the next 10 years? Do you think we are on track to realizing the full potential, or are we still wavering? Have we taken the right steps in that direction? And what more can we do for that?
Yes, George. In that case, we have already started talking about blue economy, but nothing on our hand physically. There's no such a plan. There's no discussions happening on marine spatial planning. So if you want to really take the first the benefit out from blue economy on a real term, you have to at least start now. not talk, but start sitting and discuss with how we can do it, prepare plans, and then start investing on it slowly. But at the moment, what is happening is, without a plan, we are investing. We invite investors to come and invest on our resources. So that is a really wrong the procedure we are following. That will really again cause huge amount of threats and again losses for the country. Not the country, all of us will lose everything, even our resources. Our future generations also will lose everything. So therefore, if we really want to capitalize on that or take the maximum benefit, start discussing on it now and start planning it on it now, then have the proper plan on our hand, then invite investors to come. I always like to have investors coming from other areas, then we can save our money, they will invest on us. The private sector, they can invest on us. Take the private sector in, because for the ocean economy, ocean investments are very much huge. For a country like us, is unbearable. Therefore, take all the private investors to country, but let's have a proper plan in our hand. We should direct them to do what we know, what we need. We should not allow them to come and do what they need. So if you do this now, if you at least at the end of this year, maybe next year, if you have a proper plan, definitely I think we can move in at least a real track. Otherwise, again, we'll lose everything in the future.
Yes, that's a critical point there, where we must not be looking at the next election, we must be looking at the long-term picture. It's sometimes a project that you'll start and you're not going to see it to the end, but it's something, a requirement at the national level, which is going to benefit generations to come. And that is where, when we talk about so many different aspects of this country, the blue economy is probably one of the most lucrative in terms of where this country can go in realizing our potential.
Yes.
Until and unless we realize that, it's just an ocean. We just tend to think of it just as the sea around us. But what we can do with this sea, at least we need to learn what other countries are doing and take it forward from there. So this is where we've been talking about the blue economy and the potential for Sri Lanka. An absolutely vital area for an economy. Many countries are using this to their advantage. It is high time we started doing it too. Thank you very much, Professor, for taking time to join us on the Sri Lankan Understanding, and we thank you for joining us as well. Join us again next time when we explore another aspect of this island, its past, its present, and the potential for the future.